we have been lucky enough, and I've kept him up. I know he's in India
Yo.
at the moment. Is the original Mr. Manj from the group RDB. Now, Mr. Manj Music. Can we get him on the link? Manj Music. Yes.
Hey, what's up,
Make some noise.
Yo, make some noise for Manj. Come on.
What's up?
Yo, what's
Manj,
up?
Manj,
What's going on, man? Technology, check it out.
Manj, rated. You're still wearing your pug at 2 a.m. in India. That's some serious going.
Bro, I just finished the show and I was like, I literally was about to take my pug off and I was like, shall I take it off or shall I just leave it on now? I'm just going to leave it on. Fuck it.
No. Rated. So Manj landed in India today from Dubai. So he's properly fully jet lagged and stayed up for us. So big love for doing
Jet
that.
set.
Mangled, brother, mangled. Mangled right now, mangled. But it's all good, man. I mean, I love what you guys are doing, man. It's brilliant. It's awesome.
So Manj just promised me that he's going to come on the show in person. So we can't talk. And you know, to be fair, I think he needs 2 shows because of the career
amount of-
that
yeah.
he's got. And today, because we're kind of touching on that garage era, we were going to speak how, we spoke originally. So just to kind of, for those of you that weren't part of that era, how instrumental, and I'm going to fully fanboy you here, how instrumental you were to that whole kind of scene and how many careers that were created off that scene. And Harv will know, you had, Mets and Tricks,
Yep.
Monarchy,
Gopi Sandhu,
was it Indie Sagu,
G.I. Jat.
G.I. Jat,
Lightning MC. There's a few.
there was even
Rhythm Rider.
H over here was a RDB massive as well.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
kind of
Gorarang.
would have spurned us to where we are today. So that side of your career, obviously, that must feel like so long ago for you. How does it feel, looking back that your career is that big and how many things and the whole genre was created of what you guys started, man?
Feel really old, that's for a fact. But besides that, I think, you know what, we never thought, none of us thought that it was going to become like a genre of music, to be honest. We just did it for jokes. And it was, I'll tell you where actually that whole thing started. When we started on the circuit with Surinder Rattan and we used to DJ in clubs, we didn't even know how to DJ, and all we used to do is we just used to tag along with Surinder because he'd say, "Yo, come along with us," and I'm gonna spin. And he wasn't the greatest spinner either, you know what I mean? But when people like Herbie Sahara perform, when Herbie Sahara would perform or somebody else would perform on stage, we would just start spinning Dude Lally or Chocolate Boy over them performing live just for jokes. And that is where the idea came from, where it was like, yo, garage on Punjabi music doesn't sound too bad. Why don't we try something like that? And that was it. It just clicked, and it was just for jokes, but it just turned into something else.
So that whole era, I remember going to school and, we'd buy the CDs and Broadway, ABC Music, and, you'd pick up the latest RDB record and you'd see, what these guys have released now. And it got so, that whole era of growing up was like, it went from Asian Ball to, you inspired that whole kind of...
It's like a 5-year run it had. I'm sure it was
longer than that, man. It was mad.
Yeah.
My whole uni time was like all going to, that whole RDB and that whole kind of era there. How do you feel like now, when your music has crossed over, like Aja Mahi, for instance, is crossed over to Bollywood? And I remember you telling me a story in Tenerife about how Akshay Kumar just phoned you up and you didn't even think it was real. Is that, tell everyone about that. That's the maddest story I've heard.
Mad.
Yeah. It was. I mean, to be honest, like me, we didn't know Akshay Kumar, and but there was, since I got married and then moved to Toronto, I knew a guy who knew Akshay, but I didn't know he knew Akshay. So anyway, long story short, I'm sitting in Detroit for a show, and I get a phone call, and it was my boy, but he gave the phone directly to Akshay. And then when I picked the phone up, and I'm like, "Hello," and he's like, "Hi, it's Akshay Kumar from Bollywood." And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? Shah Rukh Khan called me yesterday as well. What do you want?" And I thought it was a blag, and I was like, "Yeah, whatever." But he's like, "No, it's actually me," and I'm like, "Right, okay." And then he gave it to my boy, and he's like, yo, bro, it's actually Akshay Kumar. He's here with me right now. He had a show, it got cancelled. Yo, chat to him because he wants to do a track. And I was like, holy shit. Okay, right, cool. And that's where the whole conversation actually started, and that was history after that. Just Akshay really helped.
Big up the India connection as well, because man, you're
Every week we try it and we get this India connection, right?
yeah. Gonna pause it.
Is it super delayed? Is it just choppy right now?
It's just
Choppy, yeah, it's
but
choppy.
It's all good. It's all good.
It's like you sound like Sing MC back in the day, basically.
Yeah, that's the one.
That was my introduction to being an MC, and didn't last too long anyway. But it was,
Can I ask you?
trying to
Can I
be
ask
an
a question?
MC.
Out of all the MCs
Yeah.
that you've worked with over the years, who do you reckon that if they carried on doing what they were doing would be like the biggest right now? If they stuck to it, if they stuck to the MCing and kind of followed through, who would be massive right now?
Good question.
You know what? Okay, you know there was I can't even remember his name, to be honest. It was a guy who was.
They launched that many.
Brilliant MC,
They launched that
wasn't
many.
Bro, the guy was on Dil Kada. He lived in Chapeltown in Leeds. We just grabbed him. It was a random caller.
Random car.